All right, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Giving double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. Shalom to all the brothers out here laboring in this truth with sincerity. Shalom to the few sisters that watch. Just coming back with another lesson. Just going into, how the Lord controls everything, man. These people seem to think that, Satan pretty much runs the earth. He controls, certain aspects of what goes on, by the authority of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, the Most High. And, people are given over to him, to do as he please, so to think that Satan is against, directly against the Lord and has authority over the Lord is going off. That's basically, what these Christians seem to think, but we're just going to go into, how Satan, is under the authority of the Most High. So we can go to the book of Job, chapter 1, to find this out. It's simple, man. It's right here in your face. Lord willing, I can bring forth edification and clarification, Lord willing. But we'll start at verse 6. This is the book of Job, chapter 1 and verse 6. It says, "Now there was a day when the sons of the Most High, of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, came to present themselves before the Lord Yahweh, the Most High." It says, "And Satan came also among them." So these are, the righteous angels, as well as, the wicked angels, all the angels that work for the Lord, the sons of the Most High. So, this is pretty much a council, man, of angels, all types. So it says, "And the Lord Yahweh said unto Satan, Whence cometh thou? Then Satan answered the Lord Yahweh and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it." So Satan was going throughout the earth, man, doing his thing, bringing forth evil, plaguing people, just doing what Satan does. So, this shows you that, he answers to the Lord, man. The Lord asked him what was he doing, and he gave him a update, so to speak, of what he was doing, So it says, verse 8, it says, "And the Lord Yahweh said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job?" If Satan had any authority, the Lord wouldn't have to even ask him, has he considered, Job was a upright, outstanding man. Matter of fact, let's get that. Verse 1, it says, "There was a man in the land of Uz," and Salakia for that, I should have got this first. It says, "Whose name was Job. And that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared Yahweh Shem Yahushua and eschewed evil." So he put off evil. He departed from evil. So that's a perfect target for Satan, man. These are the people that he targeted, but he didn't target Job, for the simple fact he was upright and outstanding, man. But he didn't get the authority to do that until the Most High Yahweh gave him the authority to do that. Salakia. All right, back to verse 8. It says, And the Lord Yahweh said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth Yahweh Shem Yahushua and escheweth evil? Verse 9, it says, "Then Satan answered the Lord Yahweh and said, Doth Job fear Yahweh Shem Yahushua for naught? Has not thou made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the works of his hands, and the substance is increased in the land." So, the Most High put a hedge around Job, so Satan couldn't touch him anyway, until he got permission from the Lord, man. verse 11, it says, but put forth thine hand now and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. So Satan told the Lord, take everything you got, and he'll curse you to your face. The Lord could have easily did it himself, but he put it in the hands of Satan. Verse 12, it says, and the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he hath is in thy power. So he gave the power over to Satan to be able to touch Job. If Satan had so much power, he could have did it on his own, if he did, but he doesn't. So it says, only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord, Yahweh. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house, and there came a messenger unto Job. So basically, you see that the Lord, Most High God, gave Satan the authority to do as he pleased with Job, but eventually he told him, do what you want to do, but don't kill him. That lets you know that Satan has no authority, when it comes to doing as he pleases. So, as the story goes on, man, or not story, but as the scripture goes on, and it goes on, basically Satan took everything from him, man. Took everything from him, plagued his health, and did pretty much as he pleased within the bounds that the Lord gave him. So, that's just one incident, but we'll go further into it. Like I say, Lord willing, I can bring forth some edification, So we'll go to the book of 2 Chronicles and chapter 18, and this is going into King Ahab, king of Israel. He wanted to hear the prophets, but he only wanted to hear the smooth things that they had to say. You had one prophet that was straight up and down with him, man. If something bad was going to happen to him, he told him. He did not want to hear that, So, as it goes on, we'll get into it. But the Lord put forth, brought forth an evil spirit, a lying spirit, So the Lord does give authority to bring evil upon people. The Lord is not all so-called loving like these people would have you think, man. The Lord plagues people with evil and plagues them with evil, plagues them with sickness. It's all of the Lord. So, I think let me see. Matter of fact, we'll just, let's see. Salakia. Lord willing, I can go straight to it. Let's see. Nope. Man, I hate when that happens. Let's see. And this is scripture that I definitely should know. Oh man. Salakia. Man, I'm having a brain for it, man. Can't even think how I even, let's see, man, Salakia. Yeah, Salakia, brothers. Salakia. No, man. Salakia, man, now it's bothering me. Man, I'm supposed to know that. Salakia, brother. I'm gonna get on with the lesson. I can't even think how it's even phrased, man. And this is a scripture that we know all too well, man. Man, always happen like that. But anyway, Man, now it's bothering me. Man, I know it's Deuteronomy. Salakia, I gotta look that up in a minute. Man, I can't even think how. Oh man, Salakia. All right, we'll go back to Second Chronicles, man. I can't. I'm just having a brain freeze, man. Like shit. Damn. I know. Death. Oh man, it's bothering me. Salakia, brothers. Yeah, I got a little thrown off. You know, I should have known that scripture, but man, I'm at this park and this Jake, man. You got 100 parking spaces out here. This Jake pulled up right beside me, man. Barely could get in the parking space. I can't even open my passenger door right now if I wanted to, man. But you know, hey man, that's what you got to deal with. But anyway, this is a scripture that I should have known. Deuteronomy 32 and 39, man. I'm out here tripping. This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 32 and 39. It says, see now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill, and I make alive. I wound, and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. So, you know, as it was, spoken of in the book of Job, man, you know, Satan plagued Job, but the Lord has all authority, man, you know. The Lord has all authority. I'm back to the book of Second Chronicles. I say, Lord willing, I can bring forth some edification. But let's see. We'll just drop down to verse 4. You know, this is going into King Ahab. You know, like we were saying. You know, he wanted the prophets to prophesy smooth things to him. You know, even no matter what the outcome was, the true outcome, he didn't want to hear it unless it benefited him. So we're going to get into it. All right, this is the book of Second Chronicles chapter 18. And, you know, we're going to try to run right through it because it's a little lengthy. But it says, and Jehoshaphat said unto the king of Israel, inquire, I pray thee, that the word of the Lord Yahweh today. Therefore the king of Israel gathered together of prophets 400 men, and said unto them, shall we go to Ramoth Gilead to battle? So he asked 400 prophets, should they go to battle? It says, or shall I forbear? You know, or should I not go? It says, and they said, go up, for the Most High Yahweh Shem Shai will deliver it into the king's hand. But Jehoshaphat said, there is not here a prophet of the Lord Yahweh besides that we might inquire of him. So none of these, you know, prophets really, I guess, you know, they were pretty much like false prophets. You know, they couldn't really even get the word from the Lord, man. Verse 7, it says, and the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, there is yet one man by whom we may inquire of the Lord Yahweh. So, yeah, pretty much these was like false prophets for real. So, it says, but I hate him. So he didn't like him. For he never prophesied good unto me, but always evil. So he wasn't telling them what he wanted to hear, even if it was the truth. So it says, the same is Micah, Salakia, Micaiah, man, I'm tripping, Micaiah, the son of Imlah. And Jehoshaphat said, let not the king say so. And the king of Israel called for one of his officers and said, fetch quickly Micaiah, the son of Imlah. Micaiah. And the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, sat either of them on his throne, clothed in their robes, and sat in the void place at the entering of the gate of Samaria, and all the prophets prophesied before them. And Zedekiah, the son of Kenai, Cheniah, man, tripping, Kenaiah, said, made him horns of iron, and said, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, with these thou shalt push Syria until they be consumed. So he's telling them, that they're gonna win the battle, basically. Just telling them what he want to hear. It says, and all the prophets prophesied, saying, go up to Ramoth Gilead and prosper, for the Lord Yahweh shall deliver it into the hand of the king. It says, and the messenger that went called Micaiah, spake unto him, saying, behold, the words of the prophets declare good to the king with one assent. Let thy word, therefore, I pray thee, be like one of theirs, and speak thou good. And Micaiah said, as the Lord Yahweh liveth, even what my power said, I will speak. So, he's speaking to the Lord. And the Lord is speaking, the Lord is giving him the answer. Verse 14, it says, and when he was come to the king said unto him, Micaiah, shall we go to Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? And he said, go ye up and prosper, and they shall be delivered into your hand. And the king said unto him, how many times shall I adjure thee that thou say nothing but the truth to me in the name of the Lord Yahweh? It says, then he said, I did see all Israel scattered upon the mountains as sheep that have no shepherd. And the Lord Yahweh said, these have no master. Let them return, therefore, every man to his house in peace. So basically he saw, the men, the army, scattered, man. The people, the king's people, scattered, without a leader. Basically saying, the leader was gone, absent. He didn't say that he was killed, but that's what it's implying, that he will be killed. It says, and the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, did I not tell thee that he would not prophesy good unto me, but evil? So he didn't tell him what he wanted to hear. It says, and again he said, therefore hear the word of the Lord Yahweh. I saw the Lord Yahweh sitting upon his throne, and all the host of heaven standing on his right hand and on his left hand. Same thing as in the book of Job, It says, and the Lord said, who shall entice Ahab, king of Israel, that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? So he's asking, the host, who's going to be a lion spirit? He's asking a angel spirit, who's going to be who going to entice him, to go up there and fight, even though he know, let's see, the NLT Salakia, it says, and the Lord Yahweh said, who can entice King Ahab of Israel to go into battle against Ramoth Gilead so he can be killed? These were many suggestions. So the Lord suggested, he knew he was going to be killed, but who was going to make him tell him what he wanted to hear so he could go be killed, man? So it says, back in the KJV, it says, and one spake, saying, after this manner, and another saying, after that manner. Then there came out a spirit and stood before the Lord Yahweh and said, I will entice him. And the Lord said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And the Lord Yahweh said, Thou shalt entice him, and thou shalt also prevail. Go out and do even so. So the Lord gave the spirit permission to go entice the prophets so that the king would be killed. It says, Then Zedekiah, son of Cananiah, came near and smote Micaiah upon the cheek, and said, Which way went the spirit of the Lord Yahweh from me to speak unto thee? And Micaiah said, Behold, thou shalt see on that day when thou shalt go into the inner chamber and hide thyself. Let's see. Let's jump down. Let's see. Let's see. I was trying to find, where the prophets actually told him, it'll be fine to go up and fight. Let's see, it's right here somewhere. The king of Israel. Oh man, Salakia, but it's in here somewhere. Face replied, You will find out soon enough when you are trying to hide in some secret room. Arrest him. So they locked up Micaiah. Give order from the king, put this man in prison, feed him nothing but bread and water until I return safely from battle. But Micaiah replied, If you return safely, it will mean that the Lord has not spoken through me. Then he added, To those standing around, everyone mark my words. So he's telling them what the Lord actually told him, but he didn't want to hear it, man. But anyway, ultimately, he ended up being killed because he didn't listen to the true prophet. He disobeyed the Lord, man. All because he didn't want to hear what the Lord had to say, So he ended up getting killed. But, the gist of this lesson is to bring forth edification upon, showing that the Lord does encourages evil in different manners, man. That's basically what it's about. But like I said, Lord willing, it was edifying. I know I was all over the place, sloppy, but, forgive me, bro. So, we want to constantly give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakwadash. Shalom.